Are Manchester United good again? Last week we looked at how Ruben Amarin has improved Manchester United's attacking game. What's more, his new signings Bryan Mbeumo, Benjamin Sesko and Matheus Cunha are all off the mark in the Premier League. And to top it all off, Amarin has tweaked his defensive approach. We're scoring more goals from our high press, our counter press has massively improved, and Ruben Amarin has adopted a compact mid-block to protect his soft centre. But I'm here today to tell you there is still work to be done. So today I'm going to be explaining what the stats actually say about Ruben Amarin's defence at Man United. Remember to subscribe if you're new, smash that like button. But anyway, let's get this party started. The big thing with Manchester United over the last 3 seasons is they've got a real soft belly. But in this shape and structure, Amarin seems to have worked a way to protect that soft centre. So in terms of for Manchester United, what we tend to see is both of the wide players dropping in to create a midfield 4 and both wing backs dropping back to create a back 5. What this means for Manchester United is not only have they got bodies to deal with the opposition's attacking structures, most notably what we tend to see in the Premier League is teams create a front 5 with their wingers, maybe one of the 8s moving high and sitting in a kind of, 4-1-4-1 structure or 4-1-5 structure to allow them to really dominate in those areas. Manchester United can comfortably deal with that. On top of that, with both wingers dropping deep and looking to protect the opposition's defence, as well as the striker dropping in, Ruben Amarin's shape and structure looks very good. The reason why I think a 4-5-1 is good because it's quite adaptable and it can be flexible with small changes. Let's say the opposition are building slightly different and they're building with a box midfield of both the 9 and the 10 dropping off the line. Amarin can slightly tweak this system and move it from a 5-4-1 to a 5-2-3 with the striker and the 2 wide players moving into high areas to become pressers on the ball to squeeze the opponents. This allows United to match their midfield in central areas, but then it can flatten out wide if it needs to. The wing back and winger can double up wide. Naturally, there's also not a lot of space in between the lines, and even if the midfield line is broken, there's a 5 defenders to beat that are remaining behind that midfield area. What's more is that with the personnel at Amarin's disposal, it provides good counter-attacking opportunities. With the pace that Manchester United have, especially on the right-hand side of the pitch, it allows United to counter to really good effect. When pressing, there's generally a man-to-man approach, whereas last season we generally saw the striker joined by the 2 number 10s and of course central midfielders. And Manchester United would press in an aggressive pentagon shape. But there were issues with teams playing through the lines against Manchester United. Not only has Ruben Amarin adapted this by reducing the pressing frequency to focus more on that 5-4-1 mid-block, but he's tweaked his press to more of a 4-4-2 diamond. That's generally Amad Diallo stepping up to create basically a 4-4-2 shape in an aggressive manner. Manchester United's back 4 will be super aggressive, especially in those central areas, and look to squeeze the opposition. And generally when the opposition are playing out from the back, what we'll tend to see is one of their midfielders dropping in to get on the ball. That's usually tracked by Bruno Fernandes or Casemiro to create a diamond in midfield. This is very much like how Arsenal press, who are one of the best pressing sides in the Premier League, a 4-4-2 diamond structure. And we've seen it work to really good effect in the Premier League this season. An example of Manchester United's new 4-4-2 pressing structure came in the Casemiro goal versus Brighton. What I like about how United are set up here is it's a little bit disorganised. In a sense, is Benjamin Sesko is currently covering the left wing and Mbeumo on the right wing. Amad Diallo is higher up, he's just been involved in an attacking piece of play. But what I love about Ruben Amarin's coaching is it doesn't matter which attacking player is in each position, the pressing is still really good, and that is credit to the Portuguese coach. So as Brighton move the ball out to their centre-back Van Heck, you can clearly see the Man United former midfield and the 2 forwards. Matheus Cunha is going to press the ball and force it back to the goalkeeper. In this situation, Bruno Fernandes has spotted Belieber being the free guy, so he's going to jump in almost a diamond structure to block off that pass. Matheus Cunha forces Brighton to play through the middle. Again, this is a dangerous pass, but Brighton do it quite well. They play through and then back out to the centre half. but Bruno uses his cover shape to block the ball into Belieber, and you can clearly see Man United's diamond structure. It's slightly adapted there, with Amad Diallo slightly deeper than Bruno Fernandes, but the shape is there. From this position, the only pass that can be played really is into the feet of Jorginho Ruta. But one of the big changes this season is we're seeing centre-backs timing their jumps much better. Here, Luke Shaw is the player jumping out of the back line. We didn't see that last season. Or more frequently, the timing wasn't right, where Luke Shaw would be too slow to this ball and it would simply be played back to Belieber, then Brighton would be out of United's press. This season, there is more intensity in the pressing. We see Luke Shaw squeeze Ruta from behind, force him into a mistake, Casemiro turns over the ball, and United are in a great position. He could look for the through ball to Matheus Cunha to get him behind the defence. But what does the Unk do is he slows himself down, has a crack at goal that's deflected past the goalkeeper to give United a 2-goal lead. But that all came from Manchester United's pressing structure. But where Man United need to improve is statistically. They don't actually concede that many shots. In fact, only 7 teams have faced fewer non-penalty shots in the Premier League this season. And that's good. United don't give up a huge number of shooting opportunities. And generally over a course of a season, the fewer shots you face, the fewer goals you concede. But in terms of expected goals, only 2 teams have conceded more XG than United this season. There is a big fixation on expected metrics, but a lot of people can use them wrong. They can give you a snapshot of an indication of a match, but they should be used or looked at as a trend, either over the course of a season or multiple matches. The problem for Manchester United is after 9 games, which is probably just long enough time frame to use expected data, they've conceded the most non-penalty XG per shot in the Premier League. In simple terms, what all this data suggests is whilst United don't give up a lot of shooting opportunities, the shots they do give up are of high quality, the highest quality in the Premier League. Those are the statistics and we can't ignore them. What we can do is take a closer look at those chances and analyse exactly why United are conceding these shots. And that's exactly what we've done. We've gone back and we've watched all of the shots United have conceded this season to determine is it a system problem or an individual problem. Before we dive in, we'll be using terms like error and mistake in our analysis. An error is losing a key duel, being positioned in the wrong place, or losing possession, which could be a pass, a bad touch, or an unsuccessful dribble. Whereas a mistake is a significant error that's led to a shot for the opposition or an unforced error. So let's take a look at some examples to give you an idea of how we broke down our scoring. The first example we're going to take a look at is Nico O'Reilly's shot versus Man United. United are in a bit of a weird spot in terms of Luke Shaw has just tried to press into midfield and Man City have played through to the final third. But structurally at the moment, United are in a pretty good spot. But it's as the move unfolds where we start to see player errors really creep in. First and foremost, Man United, again, the ball is worked out to the left-hand side. Luke Shaw drops back into the back line. United are in a pretty good spot. Yes, Luke Shaw could be slightly more aggressive on Reinders in between the lines, but Ugarte is there. This is where the errors start to unfold. First up, Ugarte dives in, tries to win a tackle, and he's bypassed with a simple 1-2. From this position, United have got a bit of a problem. A player in between the lines that's got bodies ahead to play through to. But this is where it gets even worse. Both Luke Shaw and Bruno Fernandes go towards the ball. This is poor positioning from both players and a lack of communication. This is a massive player problem. The pass splits both of the United players, and Nico O'Reilly should do much better with his decision making. If he finds Haaland in this position, City might score. But very much a player problem for Man United, but no mistakes in this move. So let's move on to the next one. This is, of course, Fulham's goal against United. This is where we can really break down what is a mistake. Because, of course, as Dorgu clears the ball, there's a mistake from Diogo Dalot. He tries and turns on the ball and is robbed by Iwobi. This is what we've got down as a mistake. But in terms of the rest of the move, there is more player errors. Notably, Bruno Fernandes' positioning, we've got him highlighted here. And just watch as the ball is worked wide. There's some combination play between the left back and Iwobi. But Bruno Fernandes is in a good position right now. He's goal side of Emil Smith-Rowe. He knows where he is. Diogo Dalot should put more pressure on the ball to stop the cross. Something United needs to be better at doing at wing-back. Bruno Fernandes at the moment is fine, but simply Smith-Rowe runs off his back. Poor positioning from Bruno Fernandes, which is an error that leads to this goal. So now we've got understanding between a player error, a player mistake. Now let's look at a system problem. This of course came in Manchester United's game against Liverpool, where the system was played through. Manchester United's application of the system should have been better. As Konate carries out, United are in their mid-block we spoke about before, the 5-4-1. But because you're playing a high line, you either need to be compact or you need pressure on the football. United in this situation have neither. Matheus Cunha is far too wide, he's not providing pressure on the ball, neither is Mason Mount. This allows Konate to get his head up and find a through ball. And then now, Luke Shaw, we score this as a player error. He gets run off the back of, he doesn't get back, he's the wrong side of Isak, and Isak has a shot that's well saved from Lamont. But this comes down to a system error first and then a player error. Both problems for United. So now you understand our methodology, let's dive into the data. 89% of the shots that Man United have conceded from open play this season have featured individual errors from players, with just 11% coming because of the system. Even then there was some overlap. If we remove these events that feature both a system and individual error, it gets worse for the players, with 96% of those shots coming from a personal problem. And where United are struggling is with the players. It's got better over the last few weeks, but we've seen them jump and press in the wrong moments at times, and we've seen countless individual errors, which creates big holes in United's shape. For example, let's take Jeremy Doku's assist for Manchester City, Luke Shaw getting his spacing and timing wrong, not only not jumping but then missing a tackle and Doku running through. At times we see Bruno Fernandes press in a really aggressive manner and simply get caught out. Teams that are better on the ball than Manchester United can play forward and attack the space in behind Bruno. That happens outside the box, but that also happens inside the box. Individual mistakes costing United. And if you think I'm just cherry picking examples, let's take a look at the data. In terms of player errors, Bruno Fernandes and Luke Shaw are the worst offenders in the squad. But from a per 90 perspective, Ugarte, Meno and Bruno round out the worst three. And on to that central midfield area, Casemiro is still United's best centre mid, and he makes a massive difference when he's on the pitch. In fact, 11 of United's 14 goals conceded in the Premier League this season have come when Casemiro hasn't been on the pitch. And this is a problem for a number of reasons. Number one, he's 33, which we can see in the consistency of his performances, but he also can't play a full 90-minute match. In fact, he's only played around half the total minutes this season. Number two, his contract is up in the summer, and he's not worth the £350,000 per week he currently earns. If he was to drastically reduce his wages, then there's an argument to keep him, but that seems unlikely. And number three, being the best of a bad bunch doesn't necessarily mean you're a leading Premier League midfielder. Yes, Casemiro offers solidity and brings huge amounts of experience, but he can also give the ball away cheaply, and he can be rash, as seen by his red card record. Casemiro has gone from averaging a red card every 250 matches to a red card every 30 matches in a Man United shirt. What's more is Man United are suffering from a stamina problem. 25 out of the 53 shots came from an individual error from the 60th minute onwards, and Bruno Fernandes is the biggest offender and is responsible for 12 of these. In fact, after the 60th minute, Bruno's rate of errors nearly doubles and his rate of mistakes more than doubles. Obviously, this is a reasonably small sample size, but it still is a worry that your best midfielder struggles after 60 minutes defensively, and Amarin needs to be proactive and replace both of his central midfielders on the hour mark. After watching all of United's matches this season, I can understand why Amarin isn't playing Menu and Ugarte, but there could be some in-house solutions. Aidan Heaven was a midfielder in his youth at Arsenal and could provide solidity from the 60th minute mark. This would be a great way of giving him minutes. Now he's competing with 6 other centre-backs for 3 positions. And Mazraoui is another player who can provide cover in the latter parts of games, having played in central midfield at Ajax and even attacking midfield for Erik ten Hag. There's also Sesko and Matheus, Tyler Fletcher and Jacob Devaney in the youth team that can provide energetic solutions to Ruben Amorim. That being said, the state of Man United's squad when Amorim was appointed was atrocious, but in one window, United have offloaded a number of unwanted players for decent fees, and they've massively improved their attack with Matheus Cunha, Benjamin Sesko and Bryan Mbeumo. They've also acted to remove a major source of mistakes. Statman Dave made 4 mistakes in just 6 Premier League games this season, and don't get me started on Andre Onana's errors leading to goals. Seny Lomans has brought a real calm and composure to United's backline, not just with his ability to deal with aerial balls and cross into the box, but his shot stopping too. And even though he probably should have done a little bit better for Danny Welbeck's free kick, Lomans has still prevented 0.66 goals per 90, the most of any Premier League goalkeeper. The next mistake-prone players in the starting 11 that Man United need to address is Luke Shaw and Bruno Fernandes. Shaw already has a ready-made replacement near in return in Lisandro Martinez. Statistically one of the best progressive defenders in Europe, the defensive aggression of Martinez also suits Amarin's outside centre-back role. But if Martinez can't stay fit, a long-term replacement should be looked at in the summer. Meanwhile, Bruno Fernandes is currently a net positive, with his attacking output outweighing his defensive liabilities. Whilst that's fine as Amarin tries to drag United higher than 15th, if we want to get back to the very top, a more rounded central midfielder than Bruno, or a partner that can completely cover his weaknesses, has got to be a priority going forward. Although on the plus side, Bruno Fernandes and Luke Shaw have gone 3 matches without a mistake, with United winning all of those matches. However, given the number of errors they make, I expect mistakes to creep back in. With both players north of 30, long-term replacements should be on the cards anyway. If Ineos can maintain their success in the transfer window while strengthening in midfield and defence, Man United will be well on their way to the Champions League places. Don't believe me? Take a look at United's rolling expected data. As you can see, under Amarin, United have significantly improved this season, but the most important aspect to take away from this graph is the trend lines. XG conceded is on the decline and XG created is on the rise. Under Ruben Amorim, Man United are heading in the right direction. But anyway guys, we have dived into the defensive data. If you missed the first video of this series, go and check it out where he analysed Man United's attack. I've of course been Statman Dave. Get all your thoughts in the comments below and we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel.